Lines are being drawn over President Trump's first Supreme Court nominee.
That's right, 24 hours after the nomination, lawmakers from both major parties tonight bracing for a big fight.
KCAL9 political reporter Dave Bryan has the latest on the debate over the president's latest nominee. Dave?
Yeah, and the president today urging the Senate Republican leader to do whatever it takes to get this done. The big news today was President Trump's suggestion that if Democrats try to block or slow down the confirmation of his Supreme Court nominee, then the Senate leadership should take the nuclear option and change the rules, raising the hackles of Democrats, some of whom are angry and are in no hurry to approve the nomination. On the day after his nomination to the Supreme Court, Judge Neil Gorsuch was making the rounds at the Capitol.
And looking forward to getting the confirmation process started.
But with some Democrats suggesting they'll do everything in their power to block that process, President Trump advised Senate Republicans to nuke him.
If we end up with that gridlock, I would say, if you can, Mitch, go nuclear, because that would be an absolute shame if a man of this quality was caught up in the web. So I would say it's up to Mitch, but I would say go for it.
What Trump is suggesting, the nuclear option, if Democrats are stalling the nomination, is for Republicans to change the Senate rules, which currently require 60 votes to shut down a filibuster. Here's what California Senator Dianne Feinstein had to say about that nuclear option.
That's enormously unhelpful. That's a threat.
You mean Democrats should filibuster this nomination?
I'm not there yet. I can't say.
Coming after a week of protests and demonstrations against Trump's executive order travel ban, the White House would like to see the Supreme Court confirmation process go more smoothly for Gorsuch.
I really think he's a very dignified man. I'd like to see him go through a dignified process. I think he deserves that, and hopefully it'll go quickly.
And Gorsuch, seen in this photo with his fishing buddy Antonin Scalia, whom he would replace on the court, has some advantages: a sharp intellect and a congenial personality that could build consensus on some court decisions. But as Gorsuch worked the Capitol, consensus on his confirmation seemed to be in short supply.
I think that the Democrats should do everything they can in order to block his nomination.
But not all Democrats agree.
That's not what I'm going to do. I'm anxious to sit down with the new nominee to find out more about him, to find out, basically look at his judicial rulings and have more of an idea of what's going on. If you want the third branch of government to work, then you've got to have a 9-member Supreme Court. So if the Republicans did something and now the Democrats are going to do something, two wrongs don't make a right.
On the other hand, liberal judicial activists are pushing the Democrats to take a tough stand on Gorsuch.
We Democrats will insist on a rigorous but fair process.
While on the right, the Judicial Crisis Network says it's spending $10 million on pushing for a quick confirmation, targeting red state Democrats like Senator Manchin from West Virginia, who did sit down with Gorsuch on Wednesday.
We have a lot to talk about, to try to get to know each other.
Now, Gorsuch will be doing a lot of Senate sit-down meetings over the next few weeks, trying to convince moderate Democrats like Manchin that he really is a mainstream judge. The confirmation hearings will be held by the Senate Judiciary Committee, where Democrats are expected to grill Gorsuch on issues like his birth control ruling, abortion rights, and affirmative action rights, just to name a few. Lena?
Yeah, so what do his chances of confirmation look like now?
Well, I mean, I think overall they look pretty good. You know, barring some colossal disclosure, I would say Gorsuch's chances for confirmation are probably excellent. Not to say it won't be a grueling process and a hard road, because Democrats are under pressure from party activists to resist confirming this very conservative justice in any way they can, no matter what it takes. So it might get pretty ugly, but in the end, the Republicans are calling the shots. However, they would like to get this done without having to roll out that nuclear option we talked about, because that would open up charges that they had to rig the system, to quote a former presidential candidate, in order to get Gorsuch approved. But with or without that option, I would say he will ultimately be confirmed. Lena?